Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome everyone to another explainer where we take these really complex events and break them down into, clear, structured insights. Today, we're looking at a pretty wild shift in momentum that just happened in the Lok Sabha. We're going to deconstruct exactly how a totally routine, highly formal legislative debate can just instantly pivot into absolute gridlock. Now, we are definitely not here to take political sides or judge the people involved, right? Instead, we're objectively looking at the mechanics of disruption. Like, how does this actually happen in such a structured environment? We'll look at the baseline, the exact spark that set it all off, and the rapid, multi-layered fallout that followed. It's honestly a masterclass in understanding the really delicate ecosystem of parliamentary debate.
Think for a second about the sheer power of a single word. In a place like the parliamentary floor, words are literally the primary tools of the trade, right? Lawmakers use them to negotiate, to persuade, and to build actual laws. But sometimes a single word acts less like a tool and a lot more like a sudden spark in a powder keg. Take this specific remark made by Rahul Gandhi. Just a six-letter word, spoken into a microphone, but it instantly shattered the momentum of the entire room. Before that word was uttered, everything was moving steadily in one very productive direction, but the exact second it hit the record, the whole atmosphere, the tension, and the entire focus of the legislative body just experienced this totally abrupt shift. It's wild.
So, part one, the debate and the catalyst.
To really get why this moment was such a shockwave, we kind of have to look at what was happening right before it. So the setting is the Lok Sabha, the lower house of India's parliament. And this is an environment with super strict rules, tons of historical precedent, and intense formal decorum. The topic they were on was highly specific and incredibly consequential. They were actively debating the anti-paper leak bill. And look, this wasn't just some administrative filler, right? Exam paper leaks affect literally millions of students, their entire futures, and the integrity of the whole national education system. The stakes were absolutely huge. The floor was super focused on the legislative process, really grinding through the details of this high-impact law. That was the steady, serious baseline of the afternoon. And the contrast here is just fascinating. On one hand, you have this ongoing, formal legislative procedure. You can picture it, right? The methodical back and forth, citing legal clauses, the very dry, structured language about the anti-paper leak bill. It's procedural. It's measured. And then, bam, you get the sudden, jarring introduction of Rahul Gandhi's remark. The formal machinery of the debate just completely halted because of this interpersonal, highly charged interjection. It literally changed the temperature of the room in an instant. 1 second you're debating the nuances of national education security, and the very next, the focus is entirely ripped away from the legislation, replaced by this sudden electric tension.
Let's move to part two and see how this builds. The BJP parliament protests. A spark is really only as big as the fire it starts, and the speed and scale of this escalation were just incredible. This wasn't some delayed reaction, and it definitely wasn't just an isolated grumble. That remark sparked immediate, really vocal protests from the BJP MPs across the floor. Just imagine the sensory experience of that exact second. You have this sudden eruption of dozens of voices. The speaker's agenda is immediately frozen, and there's just the sheer wall of sound crashing over the formal proceedings. You've got this single point of origin, one microphone, one word, and it radiates outwards instantly, totally transforming a focused debate into a loud, collective demonstration of dissent. It just perfectly shows how fast the fragile ecosystem of a parliament can cascade from one single utterance into undeniable chaos. Which brings us to part three, Rijiju's two-pronged demand. But here's the thing, the disruption didn't just stay as a chaotic shouting match, it actually quickly crystallized into a formal, calculated political response, which was led by Kiren Rijiju. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how parliamentary strategy operates in real time. The conflict organically grew into two very specific ultimatums. The first demand, that was a direct response to our initial spark. They wanted an apology for the remark itself. But the second demand is where the strategy gets really interesting. Rijiju also demanded the withdrawal of entirely separate, older remarks made against Amit Shah. Now, why does that matter? Well, because it shows how an immediate emotional outburst can be rapidly converted into a much broader strategic standoff. That initial spark didn't just ignite a protest right then and there. It basically blew the doors wide open for totally separate grievances to be dragged right into the center of the current gridlock. The scope of the disruption literally doubled in an instant, cementing the total derailment of the anti-paper leak bill debate.
So what does this all mean? It leaves us with this really fascinating, overarching question to ponder. How do rapid, single-word catalysts fundamentally alter the trajectory of formal legislative debates? We've just seen, step by step, how a completely routine session about a really crucial piece of national legislation was upended, expanded, and basically halted by a single word and the rapid chain reaction of protests and strategic ultimatums that followed it. It's just a powerful reminder of how incredibly fragile the momentum of formal lawmaking can actually be. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this structured breakdown. Keep questioning the events behind the headlines, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.